Welcome to Trading Lounge and the US indices for the 30th of October, and starting with the S&P here on the daily chart. As you know, we're looking at this orange wave 4 in two ways, as a triangle and also as a flat correction. So as a flat correction, we'll be looking at this as three waves and five waves. So we're still, in a nutshell, looking for another move down here in terms of that flat correction before we see a push to the upside on that. And let's go and have a look at the two counts on our alternative count page here, so that we've just been working with roughly, and I haven't updated it, but wave 3 here, wave A here, and wave B here, and wave C here. So a flat correction is three waves, and then three waves for the B and five waves for the C. Could we get five waves out of this coming down through here? It doesn't feel right. It doesn't have the right perspective for five waves. You could possibly squeeze it in there. I know that some stocks that we can count, like Facebook, can count down as five waves. So we just keep it in the back of our minds. You won't sort of throw it out, but it does present better as three waves. But even as three waves, triangles are three waves too. So three waves for the A wave, three for the B, three for the C, three for the D, and three for the E, and then push up from that point. So the flat correction, we're looking for five waves down here. We don't have five waves yet. We'll go in and check all this out in a moment. But in a nutshell, these are the two things that we're tracking here. So we just really need to be careful. Obviously, the elections just don't finish on November the 3rd. They'll be counted out from that point. But as it creeps along, the numbers will start to, in the election, will give direction as well. So let's go in and have a look, I guess. Let's drill down into this particular structure. That's our sort of job for today. There is one other thing that I did want to have a look at. I think it's worth a look. This is the S&P 400, but also there's other markets that sort of carry the same sort of count, the Russell 2000 and so on. And in that instance, they seem to count as five waves up from the March low as completed in terms of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here, and ABC here for wave 2. Wave 3 is a little bit shorter than wave 1 here. But that's okay in Elliott, because wave 5 is even shorter still. And this counts here nicely as an A wave, a B wave here, then 1 and 2, and then 3 up here, 4 here, and 5 up here for this to be completed here as a B wave. So an A wave here, a B wave here, and we can see 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here. So wave 4 comes across in this way, more like a running flat. And then wave 5. Now wave 5 could be wave 1 and back for wave 2, and then going up for wave 3, 4 and 5. I understand that, but I just think it's sort of, a bit of consideration here for the S&P 400, and as I mentioned, there's other markets like the Russell and a few others that carry the same count as well. I mean, the S&P is different, and the NASI is different. The NASI and the S&P 500 are kind of close in their wave counts coming up. But anyway, I just thought it was sort of interesting, and we just need to be mindful of a top. But we need to gather a lot more evidence for that first. But I just thought it's important to point that out. So back to here. So on the 4-hour chart, which is not going to give us much more clarity, but a little bit for the flat correction, at least as the 3, 3, 5 pattern through here, and looking at this here as all of wave 1 here and 2 here and 3 here and 4 here, and going down for wave 5 here, that obviously there's going to be support at 32. We'll always get bounces at group 1. This is minor group 1 of 3,000. And the 38.2% retracement level, the way that I've got the main count coming up here is wave 3, brings us into 3150 area. So anywhere sort of near that would be fine. Yeah, so if it comes down, if we're down below the 31 here, backing down into this area, down in closer to the 3,000, well then that bearish count that I looked at would have to be viewed a bit closer as well at that point. Okay, so in a nutshell, we're looking for 5 waves down through here. This could also be counted differently through here as well, so I'll just have a look at that, where when I mean differently, it's possible to count this here. It looks quite good on the futures market with wave 1 here and 2 here, and this would leave wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for the third wave, then the fourth, then the fifth. So that would come down. I'll just put these back here for a moment, but I'll just copy that there, and I'll just put that there and block it out a bit. So just looking at that alternative count, so from wave B here, it would look 1 and 2 here, and then 1 and 2 here, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 down for the third wave here, the fourth wave, the fifth wave, offering us a deeper correction into that 3150 sort of area there. So we'll keep an eye on it. But yeah, so just a sort of variation on that. We also need to be mindful too, coming back to the 4-hour chart here for a second. If we're looking at the triangle pattern, if I can copy this here, then that wave that would come down as an A and a B and a C wave here for where wave 3 is here. So then we would be looking at a D wave up here and then an E wave over here. So we just need to also keep an eye on this as well. I know it's complicated, but look, that's just what wave 4s do to us at times. So we just need to be, get on with the job and continue to work it all. The takeaway here is that yes, we're in a bit of a trend to the downside, but as I mentioned yesterday, what you see here is not what you get next. So it's going to be a struggle, and at least we know that, and it means that you need to trade less and even stand aside. I mean, you don't have to be in the market all the time. Once this is finished and we can establish a trend, well, then that's where we can make some pocket money. So in this case, we could look at if we take this top here and come down to the low here, then the 38.2% retracement level is kind of where we are at the moment. So look, if we came back up higher here into, well, group 2 here, so 3, 3, 6, 5, then we would probably look at the D wave at that point. But I think it's also what we can also do is understand this particular correction here. We'll drill into that because that should just be an ABC correction at that point. So we've got 3, 3, 6, 5 as a starting point to make wave D, but we'll also, better still, we'll understand wave 4, and we'll understand at what point that makes that wave D here rather than wave 4. Rightio, so we'll just drill into the hourly chart to lock this down a little bit further. So just from wave B up here, and I've counted this down as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave green wave 1 and 2 here. And then looking at this as wave 1 and 2 here and 3 here and 4 here and 5 here for green. And yeah, yesterday, I've talking about when the extension's in wave 3 here, that wave 1 and wave 5 should be roughly the same length. That just didn't occur. I thought we would have been down here at 32, but it's just not the case. So there seems to be some support coming into the market, and that comes in through stocks as well. So this is Alphabet here. So we've been tracking this since we've been tracking it up and we've been tracking it down. But as I mentioned before, we looked at this being the A wave, and then we waited for the B wave, and then we were looking for the C wave to come down into this space here. So it's kind of like but we've got that in place there now, haven't we? So that's really going to be interesting to see, because that will be support coming in on the stock side of things. Of course, it needs to, I haven't pulled that apart. I suppose two ways to count that. We can count it 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but it looks like the extension's in here and it wants to move higher here, at least another move to the upside here. But I won't focus in on that just yet. But what I wanted to point out here, Google's been a bit of a guide stick here when other things are failed. I'm sure there's other stocks that we could use as guide sticks as well. It's just that this one popped out at me. It popped out because, well, it's like, hey, we've got a really nice 5-wave structure here. It doesn't really get any better than that. So then we were looking for a 3-wave correction. We've got that. So technically, we should be looking, with this, we should be looking up at wave 1 and wave 2 here. I mean, because this, calling this wave 1 and this wave 2 here, that should be a zigzag, like an ABC here. So it shouldn't be, we can't bring this over to here as an A wave here and a B wave back here for this. It shouldn't really work like that unless I've made a mistake. I'll probably need to just go in and check all of that in there and make sure we don't have 5 waves in there as such. But we'll continue to keep an eye on this, and we'll probably even get a trade out of this. If this is going to give us a nice 5 waves up, we still have to wait for it to pull back again as well, and then we may find an entry in there which should be interesting. But the reason I'm showing you this for is because, hey, it looks bullish, We don't have 5 waves up on the Nasdaq. We can get that. It's a little bit of a problem. I'll just bring it back over. We did look at it before. We've been looking at the Nasdaq as an impulse wave to the upside, because we could count this as 1 and 2 here in this case, and then 3 and 4 and 5 for wave 1. And I haven't pulled all this apart here. I can see some of it. But it also fits into the triangle pattern that we're counting as well in this space. Or triangle can be like that, nice symmetrical triangle, or it can have a flat line here as well, and just come down, up, down, and then up from that way. So the A, the B, the C, the D, and the E here. So it could pan out a few different ways. So I just don't think we should get involved in this at the moment, but that's okay. But yeah, after Google showed me 5 waves up, well, then it was like, well, should we use this as 5 waves, Anyway, we're not on support at 11,500 yet, and we don't have a clear impulse wave up here, so we don't really have a setup for this just at the moment. So I'll just remove those out of the way, so they're not a great deal of help. And let's go in and have a little look at this further. Maybe this is the hourly chart, but I'll just check the 15-minute chart before I go off here. So yeah, so from wave 2 here, I was looking at this as wave 1 and 2 here and 3 here. Yeah, maybe that's wrong in here, Maybe I've got this wrong. I'll just check with the thing, but I want to put that wave 3 there. That could be wave 4 there too. I'll just of 1 degree small. Not that it makes a great deal of difference just yet, but it will later. Just go to the tick chart. I'll have to double check that now that I've seen that. But just on the tick chart here, we'll just assume for a moment this wave 3 and not the other one. We're looking for an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave to the upside there. So don't have anything there. So we can look at this as we need to pull that over here for that for there. It looks like wave 1 and 2 here, then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here, then an ABC, but it has dropped rather low here. But I'm just assuming there should be one more push to the upside here for this. One more move up here. Let's just check here. See, it's below the 38.2%. Not a lot though, so we can kind of like allow it. But what we won't allow is we've got 3,300, which is the top of minor group 1. Then we've got 1, 2, and 3, 10, 20, and 30 that make up subgroup 1. So what we don't want to see right here is if this number 2, the number 2 within group 1, if that becomes the retested resistance, then you know that the top is in place. It's okay for that to normally spike down to 0.5, 3315 in any instance, and then go back up. But if the 2 becomes the retested resistance, then you know that the market is going to be pulled down to the closest largest number at that point. So having that as the number 2 is this is just education, but having this as resistance here, a tested resistance, you know that that the market will be moving down from that point. So a classic trading levels pattern, upside down, the bearish one for that move. But otherwise, we should see a little 5 impulse wave close to the 3350. And then move down from that point. Now, as I mentioned before, we don't want to see the market up at 3365. Well, certainly we don't want to see, this is all a group 2 here, we don't want to see the 3365 as the support. If that's the case, then that changes the pattern into the triangle at that point. Got it? So let me just bring in some more data here. I just want to double check on that structure here. So I'm just a bit odd here, but I mean what I'm checking is I'm just checking that we're not on this wave 3, that's all. It seems okay here. I mean, it's a little bit dodgy in this area here. I'm kind of okay with this, really. I mean, that looks a bit impulsive down here for a B wave, but we do have a 5-wave structure here for the C wave, you know, so I've got to use that. So I have to do it this way around. But I will double check that. It looks like okay here, so we'll stay with this. So just to recap, this situation here is we're looking for one more wave up and then the market to move down at that point. So you could probably short this let it go up to this point and let it come back and find the number 2 here, the 3320, the 3,320 as the retested resistance. And then you can start to build in your short trade, getting a position here and looking to add under here and looking to add under here as well, if that's the case. Because if you shorted it otherwise here, you could get into trouble, because we'll look at this as 1 and 2 and 3 up here. Then it can come back to 4, the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree, and then move up for wave 5 up here. Then we've got 5 waves off that low there, and that's not going to be a good picture. And it does look like we've got 5 here, 3 here, and 5th here. So we can count this as wave 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So yeah, waiting for it to come back and find this as the resistance, then that's what we're looking for. Obviously the safe trade is finding this here as resistance, the main number here, the 300 at this point, but just refining that. Let's just recap this on our alternative page here. So I'll just clean this up a little bit while I'm here. We don't need these guys here for the moment. So we can look at that there, that there. We're looking for one more move down at that point. Actually, we don't need these other guys here either. Don't need that one. So it's possible that wave C is there. Otherwise, we're going down for wave C off here, and then we'll go. Then we've got our bullish pattern coming in at that point. But there is that variation on that too, isn't there? I mean, having wave 1 here rather than here, so we'll still have to be a bit careful. Have to resolve that, but we'll just see how Friday is. If Friday's strong, then Monday will follow through as well. So right, so there are 2 counts. We've still got a lot of work to do with all of this before we can go in for the trend. You know, I mean, even if the market goes up to 3365 area, we'll still be in wave D. Then we've got to get through wave E as well. So it's not over yet. So alrighty, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.